everyone, and welcome to the 8th episode of the Pony 411 podcast.
Woo!
And that song you just heard, leading in, was our new theme song. We finally have one after commissioning it about 8 weeks ago. And that is done by our very own Artfan. The song is called 411, and you can find it on the very top of the Billboard charts this week.
Damn right.
Pony Billboard charts.
Where it belongs. And my name is Fourstring, and welcome to our 8th episode on October 10th, which is, as many of you know, the 2-year anniversary of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. First airing was October 10th, 2010, that this show started, and then we all lost control of our lives.
So it premiered on 10/10/10?
Yes.
Apparently, yes.
All 10s.
Some of those people that lost control of their lives include Nemesis.
I'm making chocolate pudding right now.
We got LordFunkyFist.
Hi.
And, as mentioned earlier, the creator of our theme song, Artfan.
I am very much in control of my life.
Well, you're one of the lucky ones.
Except when it comes
All right,
to Homestuck.
And if you're listening, thank you for listening, as always, to us, and we hope that you were entertained and informed and all those other things. I don't know. But we've got a lot on the plate today. We've got some quick hits here to begin with, and we're going to have a deep discussion about
Ponies.
what we were
Quick
doing
hits.
on that fateful day, October 10th, 2010, or something like that. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about how we came to get to this place, which is what people usually do in their first episode, but YOLO. And
Did we do this, did
Why
we
do
do
you
this in
even
the
say
first
that?
episode, though?
No, we didn't.
I'm throwing out phrases that no one wants to hear. And then we have an interview with the organizers of Trotcon. They're going to talk a little bit about 2013 and what it means for Trotcon. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then we got our fan content. So it's pretty much our usual rundown of stuff, at least the format. So we're going to bounce right into some quick hits. And I forgot to think of a theme song for the quick hits this week.
I'll write one.
no.
I'll write one. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
It's already
I got it.
falling
Quick
apart.
hits. This podcast is over before it began. But
Just use the parts of the theme song I edited out.
It only took 8
there we go.
episodes.
That'll work. Absolutely. So, jumping right in here to start off, a new Borderlands 2 downloadable content character was recently released, or downloadable content rather, character was recently released. Now, what does that have to do with ponies, you may ask? Well, her skill tree is filled with pony references such as 20% cooler, fancy mathematics, evil enchantress, and much more.
Yes.
So if you're into that, and you're into Borderlands,
Like
Borderlands 2 at that, not just any Borderlands, you should go check out that game.
If
Yeah.
you're
It's
one of
the
the
Necromancer.
99.9% people that are playing the game,
I love Borderlands. I will definitely be looking at the second one, and I will possibly even download this character.
I think I'm the only person in the world that's not playing Borderlands 2.
I'm
Yeah,
not playing
I'm
it
not
yet,
one
but I
of
will be.
Oh,
I've
Kevin,
been playing.
too.
I've been playing the new character. It's the Necromancer, and yeah, that they're all over the place.
Fantastic. Well, moving right along, Walmart. We all know Walmart. It's the place where we can go buy things and
And has a
feel
smiley
better about
face.
our lives in general. Well, Walmart has embraced the Brony fandom recently with a line of shirts featuring My Little Pony characters that reads, "I heart bronies." So that sounds pretty cool, right? Well, guess what? The ponies on the shirt are from a previous generation, G1 to be specific, of the show, rather than the current G4, which has caused, understandably, a lot of people going, ha ha ha, Walmart.
And if you buy the
So
shirt,
Walmart
you'll
has-
be looking like a G6.
So Walmart has since clarified in an interview with the Daily Dot's Lauren Orsini that the shirts are, I quote, very popular and the trend is growing from the new cartoon. We chose the vintage characters since that is what our customers respond to, end quote.
Was the response horror?
So, yeah. So if you want to, be very ironic, I mean, I'm actually planning on possibly going and buying some, or buying one, not some, so I can just wear into meetups and, annoy people.
Just angry everybody.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I don't see the big deal about it, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's life.
Retro's making a comeback, dude.
Get
It
a
really
get a
is.
sense of humor and just laugh about it. That's what I did. And
It
and
is
I
a
know lot of
definitely
people
cool
did.
looking shirt.
It's funny,
I would
but,
say.
yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy one,
It's-
though.
And there are people out there we should note who are fans of G1 and other generations. But it's not like this is necessarily like they're totally off. It's just, this fandom definitely did begin because of that, and because of G4, that is, and that's, I think, why this has been such a oh my god, they're missing the point. To an extent, yes, but I'm sure there are people who already bought it. In fact, I think Walmart has stated that people have already, the shirts have done pretty well, so they're going to keep making them. So, anyway, if you're in Texas, like our co-host LordFunkyFist here, and if you're a fan of Renaissance festivals, well, a meetup group, I believe the Houston meetup group, is heading to the Texas Renaissance Festival in Todd Mission, Texas, for what they're deeming Pony Ren Fest. And this is happening October 12th through 14th. That's this weekend. The group is planning on having a campground party specifically for bronies. You can contact the organizers on Facebook for a $15 group code and visit texrenfest.com for more info.
I imagine there'd be a lot of marshmallows.
I would hope so. The complete set of Wave 6 blind bag ponies are officially released. Along with the usual main 6, the set also includes Trixie,
Boo.
Twilight Velvet, who is apparently Twilight's mom, and Mosley Orange, who is apparently Applejack's uncle, and many more. For the complete list, visit the EQD page on the release of these blind bags. There are, I believe, 24 in total.
Gotta catch them all.
You gotta catch them all, you do. You gotta do it.
Gotta brush
The
them all.
Now, the BronyCon documentary that we've talked about on this podcast a couple times and has been teased for months now has an official-ish release date. The video is going to be premiered at November's Equestria LA convention prior to its major release at the AMC Theater in downtown Disney on November 4th. A ticket's going to cost you $100 and includes a Blu-ray version of the film that is going to be mailed once its release is official, as well as a post-film Q&A with Tara Strong, Lauren Faust, Michael Brockhoff, and Lauren Malaquais. I'm probably saying that wrong. I apologize. So, if you're interested,
And have
and you're going to Equestria LA, you should definitely check out Equestria LA or, the BronyCon documentary's websites and get your tickets now. I think they said they have about 280 spots available total. Now, speaking of Equestria LA, the con has picked up 2 heavy hitters to add to its already extensive list of guests. Tara Strong and Megan McCarthy are its newest additions. So, if you're going to be in Equestria LA, then your weekend just got even more awesome, I'm guessing.
You get more Twilight Licious.
Yes.
More Twilight Licious. Now, following the success of Balloon Party, Australian pony musicians are teaming up to release BAU Party, a compilation album which will help musicians from the country make it to PonyCon AU in Australia, which is happening April 6th through 7th of next year. For more info, check out the project's forum, which we'll have linked to in the podcast description. Next up, we talked about the My Little Game Jam a couple times on this podcast. Well, that's a 48-hour contest that you made a game in 48 hours and put it online, and the contest is officially over. To check out the nearly 40 games that have been made for it, head on over to their website, which again is in the podcast description. Esquire Singapore has done a feature article on the Brony phenomenon, adding yet another story to the arsenal of big media coverage that the fandom has received. The publication has a sneak peek on its Facebook page with the full story going live on magazine shelves soon. And also the My Little Pony comic we've, again, talked about on this show before, has had its release date pushed back to November 28th per a tweet from artist Andy Price. Price claims the delay is due to the high demand for the comic, and its creators are making sure they can meet said demand, which, is good. We like it when you meet our demands, because a lot of people... Or bad things will happen, yes.
Told, nope, sorry, sold out.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want that to happen, and I'm sure it's going to happen in a lot of places anyway, but I'm glad they're at least thinking about this and not being like too like, oh, we'll just send so many out and then people don't have enough left. Like, I'm not too worried. My local comic book store is like, oh, we don't plan on selling out, and I'm like, challenge accepted. So we'll see how that happens.
All of them.
Every last one.
But
I'm not.
But
too
that's
worried
enough for
because I
quick
bought
hits.
mine pre-ordered.
Oh yeah, you did. That's right. But that's enough for quick hits for the week. For more news, check out the many news sites on the internet for ponies, including Equestria Daily, the Daily Oat, Derby Who's News, the Round Stable, and I think more. Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. So, guys,
Uh-oh.
What's up? How's your lives going? Is it going good?
Sure.
I'm glad.
It's going decent.
Good. Well, as was mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, today is October 10th, although for those of you listening out there, by then it will no longer be October 10th, but whatever. But today is October 10th. Yes, today is October 10th, and that means it is the 2-year anniversary of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic beginning
Woo!
as an actual show. And that was October 10th, 2010. And it's exploded into this. And that's going to be kind of our discussion segment today. Not kind of, it is our discussion segment today.
Gasp.
And what I want to talk to you guys about is basically, kind of an idea of where you guys came from. Because we haven't done that yet. Once again, we never really talked about that, unless we may have hit on it kind of briefly in the first episode. But
we're not like everyone else, man. We do things on our own rules.
That's right. We really mess with the status quo. But
we wait 8 episodes until we actually talk about how we got into the show.
That's right. But again, a couple questions for each of you and myself, I guess, too, for this week. And we are going to start with, how we got into the show here. So I kind of want to know here to begin with, and I'm going to start with, I'll start with Nemesis here. Nemesis?
Yeah.
Prime. That is your name.
Oh,
I want to know, what was, how did you first get into the show? Were you a fan back on October 10th, 2010, or? In
2010, no. It was completely unknown to me for those first few months, to be honest. And for most people, actually, probably outside of the code board on 4chan, it's just unknown to them, or just they might have heard of it just because they had a little sibling, but that's about it. I got into it in, what was it, late February, I believe? It was either late February or early March, somewhere around there. I remember it was before the Cutie Mark Chronicles aired, because I remember that's when I started here. That's when I got in. Was they started advertising? Ooh, how'd they get the Cutie Marks? Find out this episode. It was shortly after I got in. But what happened was, I remember I was on some forum. I think it was actually NeoGAF of all places. I was just kind of lurking around, and then I saw someone posted an image. It was Applejack. And it just had the text, and it said, "Y'all posting in a pony thread." I was like, "What is it? Is it?" I was like, "Is that a pony from? Is that My Little Pony? What the heck is it?" And then of course I saw a couple reactions, like people just saying, "What's this?" or just saying it's funny, or I was like, "What is this crap doing here?" And so then I found out they had an actual whole thread just dedicated to My Little Pony. I was like, okay, people, is this real? This isn't a joke, is it? And then
what kind of autism is going on here?
Am I being punked?
So I was like, it's just got to be a joke, right? Anyway, so I actually go in just out of morbid curiosity, and people talking about how I don't know, it's actually legitimately good, honest, you got to give it a try. And I'm just start reading about it, that who's involved, like, you got Lauren Faust. And at first I'm like, who's Lauren Faust? But then I'm like, oh, she worked on Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home and For Imaginary Friends. I'm like, okay.
I'm offended that you didn't know Lauren Faust.
Well, I didn't know who it was at the time. I was like, at the time I knew, Gendy Tartakovsky and stuff, but Lauren Faust, who's that? But I found out who she was and everything. I'm like, oh, Tara Strong. Oh no, who Tara Strong is? That she does like Timmy Turner
everything.
And stuff. So I'm just reading it, and I'm just like, okay, this is actually sounds kind of interesting, I guess, maybe. And then someone posts a link to YouTube, the first episode. I'm like, well,
it begins.
Click, and then went from there.
What about you, Funky? Tell us. Tell us your stories. Tell us all.
All the stories. I'll show you all. But I remember more or less the exact time. It happened in April of 2011 last year because I remember it happened somewhat close to my birthday. And I think Nemesis and another friend of ours, Serge, had to do with it because I heard both of them bring it up like briefly, like twice, and a couple of Skype calls, and then I was just kind of curious after hearing about it afterwards because I don't think I saw anywhere else on the internet about it. I think every now and then like the Kim Possible board, I think there were a couple of things about it, like a couple of pictures on there that back when I was still kind of going on there, even though it was, I think at that point it was already dead anyway, but I was like, oh, like I should probably check it out or something, and then when I went on YouTube, I was like, oh well, let me start typing in My Little Pony and see if it comes up because I couldn't remember the name, and then I saw Friendship is Magic, and I was like, oh yeah, that's that's kind of, yeah, that sounds familiar, and then I saw like the intro. I was like, oh, like let me check this out, and I clicked on the intro, and like 5 seconds in, I just stopped the video, and I was like, okay, this is too girly for me. I'm out of here for now, and like, yeah, I'm gonna go do something else, and then a couple of days later, I was just like, I should probably check it out again because it felt kind of unfair for me to just judge it on like the first 5 seconds of, you know, My Little Pony, and all that with, but I watched the first episode and like I just skipped the intro and then I was watching it and then like the first episode ended and I was like, like, oh, the second episode's right there in the related videos, and then I watched that because I wanted to see how it ended, and then I watched it, and afterwards I was like, like, oh hey, the third episode's there in the related videos, and I just kept doing that like a couple more times until it was up to how many episodes was up on YouTube, and after that I was like, I guess I like this show, so that was pretty much it.
Yeah. And Artfan, tell us how a person like yourself became a part of this podcast, really. When did you first watch the show?
Well, you see, I was on the Homestuck forums one day, and no.
You were not on the
You were a liar.
This is not true, ladies and gentlemen. Do not listen to him.
No. Believe it or not, I knew about My Little Pony well before I knew about Homestuck. I found out about it from these guys, really. I was in Skype with, I think it was specifically Nemesis, Kevin. Fusion was there too. I can't remember if Funky was there, but they're all talk. You know, we're going through our usual Skype shenanigans, and suddenly there's all these references to these equestrian-looking beat things and ponies, and I'm like, what is this? I don't understand. And then they're like, well, dude, it's My Little Pony. And I'm like, I thought that was a show for girls. Why do you guys watch a show for girls? And then it was just like, no, you don't understand. Here, watch this. And they linked me to a channel that had the whole first season on it. And I skimmed through a couple of episodes, and I was like, this is kind of intriguing. The characters are likable. The plots are relatively well thought out. And so I was like, I'll give this a try. So, you know, I watched a couple more episodes and found things to really like about it. Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash are my two favorite ponies. I know some people think Twilight's pretty cool, but I don't know about that. But yeah, and so I'm guess you could call me a casual fan and viewer of the show. There's nothing about it I can say I dislike. I mean, they had Q in it, John Delancey, and you know anything he comes in and does is pure gold. So yeah, and also Big Lebowski ponies. Need to see more of those.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's pretty much. I would classify myself as, you know, a casual fan. I can't say I'm the most hardcore person out there, but I do enjoy the show when I do get the chance to sit down and watch it. I think it's a very well put together show, and I'm happy to be here discussing it with the likes of the lovely guys here on this podcast.
The lovely guys. Well, the way I got into this show is very boring too out there. So I'm sorry, everybody out there, but it was March of 2011 for me. I knew this because I was doing my internship at that point in New York, and I had plenty of time each day to myself, like on the weekends, and then like after I came home each day. And I basically just heard Nemesis and Surge talking about it, and I thought, yeah, why not? Watched it, and that was that. I mean, it's really boring. I'm not gonna trouble you with any more of the details than that, but
Basically, this whole podcast is all my fault.
yeah, I mean, we chances are we probably all would have found out about it eventually, but because it's a unstoppable internet machine, killing force, whatever. So it would have been tough to avoid, but Nemesis was the instigator, we will say.
Yeah, like Nemesis certainly helped, but a lot of people that I watched on DeviantArt did start doing pony fan art, and I was like, "What the heck is this?"
What are you doing?
So that was also another factor. So
Yeah.
it was a little bit of A and B.
So October 10th, 2010. Get your thinking caps on, your time machine caps, get into your DeLoreans and travel back in time.
I'll get on my thinking chair.
Maybe not necessarily that particular day, but October 2010 in general, or like, that kind of time frame. I want to know where you guys were at that point, like what, or even just like prior to this fandom. What were you guys doing? What were you into? What was your life like? Like, was it different than what it is now, or is this just kind of like just another thing that has occupied your time?
Pony changed my life, man.
And just anyone, we'll go with Funky again to start that one off.
I honestly can't remember what I was doing like before this fandom in general, because I was just kind of just there.
Floating through the breeze.
Yeah, because there wasn't, I think at the time, I wasn't really into anything, if at all. I can't remember, because after, like, Avatar and Kim Possible and stuff, like, there weren't really other big fandoms I was part of. I mean, there was Dexter, like, on Showtime, but I'm not a part of any fandom from that. I just really watched the show a lot and liked it, but even then, I don't think it was even airing at that time, or if at all that year. I can't remember, but but I'm pretty sure if I were to look through my DeviantArt and look through my favorites, like, I know I've done that before, where like I can tell when I started getting into the show, because all of a sudden I just start seeing like pony pictures being favorited in there, and I'm pretty sure if I looked before that, you'd probably be able to see like if there was like a certain trend of like certain pictures that I favorited and liked, like of a certain fandom or like a theme basically. But yeah, like I honestly can't really remember what I was doing before, because especially with what I was drawing at that time and everything. So that would be something like if I knew ahead of time, I could probably give you a better answer. But at the time, like, I have no idea what I was doing.
Art fan, what were you doing?
Well, before all this, before My Little Pony, before anything, I guess I was just kind of...
October 2010,
October 2010, I was just kind of...
Never forget.
Existing. Not really in any major fandoms. I was just kind of working my way through school and hanging out with my friends, and friends being these guys on this podcast. Yeah, there wasn't...
hang out on the internet.
As far as like internet stuff and fandoms, there wasn't a whole lot I was doing. I didn't know about Homestuck yet, so I couldn't really talk about that. I guess the closest thing I could say I was doing before this was being a Kim Possible fan, but the show was dead by that point, long dead. So
it's very dead.
It's not coming back.
No matter how much you fight for it.
No matter how many Christmas carols you make to... Oh, that's an inside joke.
Just ladies and gentlemen out there listening, if you ever think about this and ever see us in person, just ask us about those carols sometimes.
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
If you ever see 4-string at a convention.
And if you ask me, I'll probably even sing it for you.
Yes, because for some reason 4-string had to learn all of the lyrics to this carol.
I didn't have to learn. I just remember them.
He just wanted to learn.
I listened to them enough. Anyway, Nemesis. How about you, bro?
October
2010.
That was... I had just begun my bachelor's degree at school. I remember this. I'd started in September, and as for what I was doing, like fandom wise, there wasn't really any shows at the time I was really into. Particularly in fandom, like I wasn't really deep into any fandom. There was a fandom I was kind of into, and I was playing a lot of Halo Reach at the time because it had just come out the month before. So I was lots of Halo, lots and lots of Halo.
Are you ready?
Ready doesn't even begin to describe it.
Yeah.
But it's just so it's mostly like at the time my life was just mostly schoolwork and Halo, and I guess coming onto the internet and just talking to you guys. And that was sort of like the next few months was just, and also at the time, I guess schoolwork was really starting to get to me because at this point it's like, it's already 2 years straight. And then I just got like a couple quarters in a row where it just got slammed with a lot of workload. And I guess at the time I actually got into the show, it was just like, I was so stressed out. And I guess this show was just the right amount of, just let me unwind for a half hour or so every week without worrying about anything else.
There you go.
Actually, I want to go back and I'll just say that was during the time where I was working. So, before I got into the show, I think that's mostly what I was doing. I was working and just kind of doing that, and what Nemesis was saying, like, when I wasn't working, I was either playing video games or drawing something or talking to you guys or hanging out with my friends here back when we were all living really close together still. And I think, like once ponies came in, that was another thing that was added into the mix.
Yeah, I think October 2010, I was still in school. I was starting my junior year, and at that point I was managing editor of a publication on campus, so I had that to contend with a lot, and I had just been accepted for my New York internship, so there was that. And fandom-wise, I didn't really do much. I've always been a big NASCAR fan, so that's kind of taken up some of my time. Baseball as well. And while the fandom was dead at that point, I did check on the American Dragon Jake Long forums from time to time just to see what was up, And I think we did this. We did the same thing with the Kim Possible forum we were all a part of.
We didn't check that forum as much as trolled that forum, but that's.
Well, at that point, you're very, very accurate. But yeah, at that time, like October 2010, I wasn't really doing anything, and even before I found the show, I was still pretty much doing about the same stuff, except for by that point I was actually in the inset internship. It wasn't like I was waiting for it. I was actually in it, and I was actually very busy with stuff. So it's actually very funny how I added something else to my life to make myself even more busy. Although I got through all the episodes pretty quickly, and then it was just like, okay, well now I'm caught up. It's all good. And I've never been the type. In fact, I wasn't the type really until this podcast. Really, I was never really the type who would immerse myself into the fandom. I was more of just a casual, I watched the episodes, I go to some of the meetups when they're around me, and that was it. And, with this, it's gotten me more privy to music, art, and then in news in general. But that's my, once again, fairly boring story.
Okay.
So, guys,
come on.
none of us obviously got into the show on October 10th. So that's not to say that our first episode wasn't, the very first episode of the show, but it may not have been. It may not necessarily have been. So I'm going to go around again. And Nemesis, what was the first episode you ever watched of the show?
I said this before.
Well, you actually already mentioned that. But
I said it, but
again.
It was the very, very first episode. And I think if someone linked me to the other one, I would have actually gone off and found the first episode first, just so I was like, because I'm really super, I guess, anal about that sort of thing. It's like, I need to watch it in order or else I'm going to go crazy.
I need to know my pony story.
I just remember I watched the first, I made lunch. I made sure no one could see my laptop screen through the windows or anything. And then
You lock the door, put a sock on the handle.
Do not disturb, Pony.
And I sat, made lunch, watched the first 2 episodes because, I was like, oh, to be to continue. I'm going to watch the next episode immediately. And I was like, okay. And then I remember that night, I watched the 3rd and then 4th episode. And by Applebuck season, I was hooked. And I just then binged. I just watched every single episode that was out.
The binge.
And then, it was like 1 in the morning. I finished. I'm like, did I really just watch an entire, like 4 hours worth of pony.
He stared into the mirror for 5 minutes.
And then you had that scene where you were in the shower crying. Just
what like huddled in the
on?
corner. And then he got over it. He got through it, and that's all we can ask for.
And then he started seeing
this.
pony hallucinations everywhere he went. Ponies everywhere.
Funky, tell us. First episode.
Yeah, it was, as everyone else said, it was the first episode, but I remember liking it because not only, because I wasn't too sure what to be expecting. I was like, oh, well, it's a My Little Pony show. I've never seen any of them at all. Like, I may have seen a few things from the previous generation, so I had no idea what to expect, and I was kind of surprised because I think the big thing that hooked me right away was that it actually started with a pretty nice, well thought out like story behind everything, because every other generation just seemed to be about, hey, here's a human, here's a little girl, and here are a bunch of ponies. Enjoy. It's like, oh, well, okay. And we start off, and they give us like this whole kind of like background, kind of like a mythology of the land and everything and that was kind of intriguing. Like, oh, they actually put a little thought into it. That's kind of cool. And then I think the other thing the thing that I liked was that, again, like, there was kind of the foreshadowing of a villain, and that kind of got me interested too. And then everything else just kind of just fell into place. Like, I just ended up eventually just kind of liking everybody. Like, oh, well, no one's annoying, and the animation is nice, and everything looks really well done, and especially for it being Flash. So yeah, like, this is, I just saw that, I was like, oh, like, this is just like a nice combination of all these things. And the more I watched, the more I got into it, and that was pretty much about it.
Okay. Art fan, same question, go.
So first episode I saw?
Absolutely.
That would have had to be the very first episode of the season, truthfully. When you guys sent me that link to the season 1, I decided to try and watch them in order. I skimmed through, whichever things that didn't catch my attention right away. I watched the full season 1 opener, and so that was probably the first major thing, where with Luna and everything like that. I thought the whole Nightmare Moon thing was actually kind of badass.
Yeah, exactly. Though I think I just want to say real quick, like, even though like the first episode kind of got me intrigued, I think I forgot what the name of the episode, the one with Zecora and
Bridal Gossip.
Poison.
Yes.
Yeah, Bridal Gossip. There we go. I think that was like the first one I saw. Like, after watching it, I knew, I was like, okay, I love this show, just because I was just laughing so much at that episode, especially when towards the end, when Fluttershy is singing that Evil Enchantress song in that deep voice, and it was just,
whoa.
I was just laughing so much for some reason.
Fluttershy singing an evil song?
Pretty much.
What episode was this?
No.
I didn't see this episode.
This is Bridal Gossip, episode 9 of the first season.
Well, so much for studying
And that's
tonight.
And that's a perfect segue, because the first episode I ever saw was Bridal Gossip.
There, I helped you.
Oh, finally.
Yeah, and
Broke the trend.
yeah, I don't know why I watched it out of order. Because after that I went and watched it in order. But the first episode, I'd heard about it being to that point about pretty much the funniest episode. I was told, Bridal Gossip's the funniest episode. Winter Wrap Up has the best song, and yeah, so I was like, okay, well, I'll try Bridal Gossip, and I watched it and loved it. I mean, I thought it was really funny, and I wasn't expecting that. And I was gonna watch Winter Wrap Up after that because of the song, and I was just like, actually, I should probably learn a little more about the characters. So I went back and actually watched the whole thing, from the beginning, and went from there. But Bridal Gossip was the first one, and I think it's a good one. I think it's one of those episodes that if you were to show a fan or a potential fan when it was in the first season, I think besides, if you weren't going to show them the first 2 episodes, I think Bridal Gossip was definitely one of the ones a lot of people were like, well, then watch this. Or I think Winter Wrap Up might be one of the other ones, and a couple others. But that's what got me hooked. And I was pretty much, from that first episode, I'm like, this is good. Yeah. I enjoyed this.
It's weird how
I
divisive the
approve.
first 2 episodes
I
actually
approve.
are. It's like a lot of people are like, I didn't like those. Because I was one of those things. That's part of the reason why I watched episodes 3 and 4 because I kept watching because I was like, yeah, I like the first 2 episodes, but I keep hearing everyone kept saying, oh, the first 2 episodes are really different from the rest, so don't judge it just on that one. Those 2 words. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I hear a lot of people say, oh, the first 2 episodes aren't that good compared to the rest. And other people, oh, I really like the first 2 episodes because it was such an adventure story and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, so I better give these other ones a chance, just because these first 2 aren't apparently not going to give me the clearest picture of the series.
Yeah, I think it's something you could never really do is like just take it from like the 1 episode. I mean, obviously I did, but I think, you know, in terms of like saying I don't like it, I don't think you can really just take an episode or even 2 or even 3 and say, okay, no, like I think, well, actually 3 is getting to the point where it's like, okay, if you've just detested everything so far, you know, don't worry about it. But if you're like on the fence still, you know, I think you can still keep going. And
Well,
I think generally speaking, it seems like people usually, you know, even if they're on the fence after, you know, just a couple episodes, you know, if they're on the fence, it seems like they usually end up coming to it. I very rarely hear of people who were kind of like iffy about it and then just like at the beginning and then just didn't keep watching, although I'm sure that has been a thing. I just have never, you know, heard that story, but Art, were you going to say something?
yeah, I was. I mean, for me, any new show is going to take a while because you have to think the actors have to find their footing, the story writers have to find their footing. For me, like, I generally try to give a series, I'll try to watch about 5 or so episodes to get into it, maybe about half a season to let it really get going. Like, for me, like, if I'm going to watch a show and get into it, I want to give it as much of a chance as I can, so I'm going to watch a lot of episodes because I understand that it's a developmental process for everybody involved in the making of the show, between the actors, the directors, the story writers, etc. So you really have to give, even with animated shows, you really have to give them some time before they really start to shine and find their individual things that make them work, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I have one more question in this segment, unless if I can think of another one here. And it's, you know, again, it's something that a lot of people do ask and talk about all the time, but, you know, we've already talked about how we got into the show and, you know, that's within that we obviously, you know, enjoyed it. Why was that? You know, what about this show kept you hooked? And we'll start with Art this time.
The writing of the characters easily. The way each one is so different, but yet they each have such unique, memorable quirks about them that make them stand out so much, and they're relatable too in some small way, maybe not any big way for me, but like part of the reason like Fluttershy appeals to me is because she's like the quiet, shy, kind of outcasty type of person, and that was me for a long time when I was a kid. So it's just like, okay, I can well, yes, I ran through the wilderness and singing to animals quite frequently in my youth. And also, I guess that's kind of why I like Rainbow Dash, because she's the opposite side of that coin. She's the adventurous, not a care in the world, crazy enough to try anything type of character. And that's I guess nowadays that's kind of more what I'm trying to be, just to throw caution to the wind and just do things. So it's cool to, even on some small level, have characters that you can relate to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Funky, how about you?
I think what really kept it kept me hooked on the show was, again, I guess the writing, but not because the episodes were really well written, but I was just constantly surprised at just how funny it would get. Like, it was kind of subtle. It wasn't like it was trying really hard to make jokes. It was just little things that would make me laugh, and kind of I think aside from the Fluttershy singing that deep voice, I think the one part where like I was just laughing because it just made no sense, and I guess it was kind of up my alley when it comes to like humor in shows, was that part in Feeling Pinky Keen, if I remember correctly, the one when they're looking for Fluttershy and Spike and I forget who it was that he was talking to. We're discussing what might happen to Fluttershy, and he's talking about her exploding with Applejack. And then just like I was just kind of like, what? Like I was kind of laughing at that, and then just him like when he's still going on like, what if she exploded and then exploded again, and then he gets interrupted before he could go further. And I don't know, like even though I'm pretty sure that was like kind of quick little like a throwaway joke. I was just laughing at that just because of just how, like, just it made no sense, but I don't know, I just found it funny for some reason, and just little things like that throughout the whole show, and how it just kind of kept me entertained with by being funny, and again, like, just being appealing with the designs and all that, because the previous generations, they just, the designs just didn't work because they made them too horse-like, and they kind of looked like they were made of like clay, like thick clay, and like they look like hippos at some points. But this one, like, they really streamlined it so that it made them more it made them more flexible and made them easier on the eye, and it opened up the liberties of movement, and it just made it look so, I guess, so nice. And I think that's pretty much about it. And then, of course, like, the songs, like, I actually kind of like some of the songs, and even though a lot of people praise, I guess, like, like Forstring was saying about, like, Winter Wrap-Up being, like, the best song so far, and I think people are saying that it's, like, probably, like, the best song of the first season, and pretty sure some people might even argue that's probably is one of the best songs of the series so far. But for me, like, I think my favorite song from the first season was Art of the Dress, which is odd because, like, I'm not a huge Rarity fan, but just that song I really liked, and again, I was just kind of surprised at how much I liked the music that was done in this, and all the original music, and so, like, it was just a combination of all those things that just kind of kept me looking forward to the next episode.
How about you, Nemesis?
Let's see. It's a lot of, initially it was just, like I said, I was kind of stressed out about a couple things at the time, but it was just, part of it, initially what appealed to me was it was just cute and innocent and colorful, and I could just sit down and watch it and just not care about stuff for the next 22 minutes. But also kind of underneath that also was just the fact that I also like the writing, the style in particular, just the stylization that it, but the writing of the characters, the characterization, they weren't like two-dimensional, they were, or one-dimensional even. It was just like they each had their strengths and weaknesses, and there were bits that's like, yeah, you can identify with them, because some of them, they take their personality sometimes and take them to an extreme, but that's for a purpose. And I guess another thing was, honestly, I identified with what I considered the main character, and most people do consider the main character the first season, which is Twilight Sparkle, and I just kind of identified with her right off the bat. It was just the weirdest thing, because it was like, she's in school, she's, she's shown as being a prodigy of some sort. I didn't necessarily identify that part. That sounds kind of egotistical, but it's just, she's there, she's alone, she kind of, when she finds out something that's bugging her, she will not quit until she finds the answer. She doesn't want to take no for an answer when someone tells her, Celestia tells her, oh, don't worry about that, just go to Ponyville and do this for me and make friends. And she's like, no, I don't need friends, I need to figure this out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know exactly how you feel. And as time went on,
I need books.
As time went on, this was the character I seemed to identify with the most. It's like just surrounded by this craziness, and just having to deal with it, but also sometimes not realizing you have your own little bit of crazy within you. I guess, so yeah, and also just another thing, like Funky said, this humor here and there, the little jokes, sometimes stuff you won't even notice it the first time until someone else points out. It's like, oh, by the way, did you see this? And I was like, oh, what?
For me, it's really just two big things. One was the humor, as was just mentioned. I laughed, and that was not something I usually expect from a show like a younger kid show, like, well, that's generally aimed at the target demographic of younger kids. Although, as we end up finding out later, it was really supposed to be. It was made so that parents could enjoy it too, and not want to hurt themselves while watching it. And of course, I didn't know that at the time. At the time, I was just like, oh, it's just a kid show. So I really enjoyed. I was very taken aback and surprised about that, and that's one of the things. The other thing was the music. Even though I said, after watching Bridal Gossip, I went and watched the whole thing. I did watch a video of Winter Wrap Up, and then I watched a couple other videos. I think of Art of the Dress and something else. I forget what. But the point is, I did watch some other songs. I'm like, wow, these are really good. Really enjoying these, and those are really the two things that really kept me coming back and have kept me coming back, really honestly, because I'm a big music person and I'm a big humor person. I like both of those things. They're very big things in my life. So I need a show that can do that. music, not so much. I mean, I can get my music elsewhere, but I loved it that this had both things and both were done very well. And I also I really loved a lot of the characters too. It's funny, a lot of people say, you know, when you get into the show, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, your favorite character is always Rainbow Dash because you think, oh, she's so cool and all that stuff. And when I first got into the show, she was my favorite. She actually still is my favorite of the main 6 it is. And I just really identified just because, you know, I was always very athletic and very competitive as a kid, and even now to an extent, not as athletic anymore because 4 years of college and not doing any sports will do that to you.
And beer.
But, yeah, well, there's that is the other thing. But and I loved how she, you know, just always just kind of went for it and didn't really have much of a filter, which is kind of me sometimes too. So, but I don't mean to make this into a conversation about your favorite pony here. But she kind of kept me coming back too, because I was like, you know, of all these characters, you're the most interesting to me. You know, I'm not saying I don't like all the other characters. I like all the ponies. I don't personally believe in hating ponies or disliking them even. That's just me getting on a soapbox there for 2 seconds. But the other characters just weren't as interesting to me as this one was, just because I just, for whatever reason, I think it's all subjective anyway. But one last thing, guys, before we get out of here and move on to other things.
Get on with it already.
Yeah, 'cause I did think of one other thing here. Oh, and I also have to mention, before I do get into this last part here, that one of the big things that kept me around, and this is not a show aspect, this is more of like the internet. The internet really blew this wide open for me, and especially in the sense that, as it is with a lot of fandoms, this is definitely a participatory culture that has been breeded through My Little Pony. And one of the biggest things that you see when you first got into the show was, you know, all the image macros and that sort of thing. You could get into these quickly and you can make your own, and it was funny. And then you got then the art and the music and the fanfics and the videos and all that stuff. That came later, but that's also a very big part. I think it's, you know, people stick around, I think, because of that. Or a lot of people do. But that was definitely a big thing for me, was the whole participatory culture of the whole thing, and just like how you come in and you just feel like, you know, there's so many things you could do and get your hand in, and it's a lot of fun. But my last question here, think about, you know, where do you think you'd be right now if you hadn't had this show? You know, I mean, like, obviously it's going to be in a varying degree here in terms of, you know, in terms of how into the show you are and how much of it is a part of your life. But, you know, if you had never found this show, you know, October 10th, 2012, how do you think your life would be going? Do you think this has changed you for the better, or do you think you'd just be going on and you'd have more free time, first of all, or something else might have filled that void? And Nemesis, we'll start with you.
Ooh, I was not prepared for this, so let me think for a second.
I did not sign up for this.
I can, Funky, are you prepared for this right now?
Yeah, I think I got something.
All right, we'll start with Funky and give Nemesis a couple more minutes here.
And then while I'm talking, he just interrupts me and goes,
I got it!
and then he kicks me out of the call even though I'm hosting.
Somehow, some way.
It's magic.
I don't know, for a while, like, I wasn't really sure about it, but I guess, especially recently, with the show in between seasons, I could easily see that without it, I would probably just kind of be going my own way, like, because...
Fleetwood Mac?
Because before then, I didn't do a lot of fan art, and I was kind of just focusing just on original stuff and things like that, and I think if I didn't have the show, then first off, I probably wouldn't have done the initial, like, fan art that I did, and I didn't do a ton of it. I mean, for a while I kind of did, I guess, but I think all of that would have been replaced with something else, definitely. But even though I think that kind of gave me the motivation to do a little bit more drawing, I think eventually I would have found something else, like, not another show per se, but well, with recently I've just found, like, on my own personal reason to keep drawing, and maybe that would have happened before that, and maybe it wouldn't. Like, I guess there's no way I could really know about that, and I don't think it would have affected me too much, though, just because I wasn't really too involved in the fandom. It's not like I'm one of the people who, like, became like, you know, like a kind of a celebrity. Like,
What are you
know,
talking
like
about? You're the biggest artist this fandom has. You're the hero that it needs.
You're the shit in South Florida.
not the one. I'm not the one it deserves. It's the one it needs. But so like I can't say, oh, you know, like if it wasn't for that I would have met all these people, because I really didn't meet anyone else, honestly. I mean, if at all, I would probably say I probably wouldn't be using Tumblr much right now, or probably at all, because I think one of the big reasons why I joined Tumblr, because like before I knew almost nothing of it, and I think one of the reasons I started to follow it was because that I started one was because I wanted to follow some of the pony artists that were on there, and like some of the ass blogs that started to pop up, like the Ass Pink Amino one. I think that was like the first one. I think before I just had it bookmarked and I would check it every few days, and till eventually I just, you know, buckled up and just started my own one and just started following a bunch of other things. And
Buckle up, Homestuck.
but yeah, 'cause like right now, like I don't do much fan art for ponies. Like I think about it every now and then, but I usually get distracted with like something else. So I don't think that there would have been too much of a difference. If at all, I probably just wouldn't be following most of the artists I'm following now, like on Tumblr and DeviantArt, and I probably would have just been with something else, because recently, like after ponies, I began watching more stuff on Netflix, and well, not anymore because I don't have Netflix anymore, but recently I've been just like been watching more like YouTube videos that aren't pony related, and that appeals more to my interest, like fighting games and things like that, and been listening to more podcasts, and you know, watching other shows. Like Dexter just came back, and I was watching Korra when that was happening, and watching other like shows on and off, like Pawn Stars on History Channel, and just, you know, who knows, like if I didn't have ponies, then maybe I'd be doing fan art of Dexter or something like that. I have no idea. So
How about you, Nemesis?
All right.
Are you ready this time?
Yes, I got some. Yeah.
Cool.
So, like I said before, I was really stressed out at the time I first started watching at the show, and I mean, it's kind of hard to just say how stressed. I mean, it was just insane, because sometimes, because I was having a hard time sleeping. I was developing an eye twitch, you know, which happens when I'm really, really stressed, and I was just constantly just. And I get this without the show. I mean, seriously, just without just without the half hour, I could just unwind. Without that, I'm not sure what I would have done, because I was just going crazy. I probably would have dropped out. I might have even dropped out of school. I mean, it was just. I mean, this sounds like extreme, but I mean, just having just that half hour at least to watch the show, and then like probably another couple hours just to see what everyone else thinks about it and whatnot, is just. I kind of needed that. I just needed that time where I could just unwind, not think about school. I might have just attached it to something else, but I might have also just, you know, probably tried to play video games, but then I probably would have got stressed out there because of some guy online just being a jerk or whatever. But, and then there's also, I have met new people because of this fandom, particularly, like, you know, the Pony Central forum. It's just, I've met so many great people there that I never would have met if it wasn't for this fandom. I mean, and they're really fun people to hang around. There's also stuff like, if it wasn't for this, I probably would be a lot more dismissive of things, because, you know, this show kind of is like, hey, it's like a little girl show, but you can't really just judge it because of that. And now it's like, I'm actually more willing to say, okay, I'm going to look into this. I'm willing to actually look at this, give it a shot before I just immediately say, no, I'm not going to even bother. Because like Gravity Falls is a new show that just came out. I'm not sure if I would have even given it a shot. It wasn't for this, you know, actually being into this show, you know? I might have actually just said, no, it's some stupid Disney thing.
Sure.
They haven't been good at all. So.
Gravity Falls. Remember me. That new the new episode of the show was the first episode I've ever watched of it, and I just was like, yeah, I approve.
Yeah.
Oink, oink, you're fired.
Yeah.
Oink, oink, you're fired. Amazing. Art, I know you obviously don't rely on this show very much, so this probably isn't the best of questions for you, but, you know, I'm still kind of curious. Is there any way you can answer this? Like, is this just like that meaningless a period in your life, or would things have possibly been different if you hadn't
the
ever
question basically is,
gone down that road?
Okay, well, so if I understand it right, the question is basically what I'd be doing if not for ponies, right?
Well, I mean,
Yes.
like, just think about, you know, if this show had never been you had never been introduced to this show, do you think your life would have been in any way different, or would it be basically what it is now? Just you wouldn't have ever known about pastel ponies.
I think it'd be the same. Honestly, I'd probably have discovered Homestuck even sooner.
Always gotta find a way to bring that up.
Every time.
Hey guys, I'm the Homestuck fan of the podcast. Anyway, no, my life would have pretty much been the same. Probably things would have gone the same way. I would have still been hanging out with all my same friends, talking to you guys. I probably wouldn't have ended up on this podcast if I hadn't discovered the show.
Oh, so we got that.
Yes. Aren't you guys glad that
you wouldn't have been #1 on the Billboard charts with your song 411? So there's that.
Yeah. My other hit single, "The Surge," has been up there for a while, so I had to knock it back down.
That's right. If you guys have ever heard that song, that's where you know him from. Now you know.
Yeah, I don't. If anybody else besides the people here heard that song, then props to you. I need to meet you and shake your hand because wow.
Didn't that get put on Last FM? Maybe
that doesn't mean people listen to it.
Well, I'm just thinking out loud about, is there actually a way anybody could hear it?
Well, yeah, we could always, if people are curious, I could always, I guess.
No, I'm talking right now, like at this moment.
Yeah, I have it on YouTube, but my channel's so obscure.
Oh, that's right, you do. Yeah.
I mean, if anyone's curious, I could link all my music in my. We could put a link under my name in the podcast members section on the description, so you can discover all my music. Without ponies, I'd probably be making even more music. Well, not really. I'm too lazy to write songs all the time. But yeah, I guess my life would be pretty much the same to round out that question.
Yeah, I don't think my life would have changed too much, but I think the main thing that this show has given me is a lot of more friends. And that didn't really take effect until about this year. But coming out of college, moving back home, not having. I've always been kind of ready to move, and it hasn't happened yet, but I'm still working on it. But, coming back home, a lot of my friends have, moved across the country for jobs or are still in school right now. I was the first of my friends to, graduate. So it's, it got kind of like lonely back here. And this show has it has introduced me to people. And I'm the kind of person at meetups that people seem to think is kind of, doesn't suck. We'll put it that way. I mean, it might be better than that. Like, people might think more highly of me. I'm just not gonna say because I don't want to be wrong and then sound stupid. But I've made a lot of friends through this, mostly through the Ohio group, and without that, right now I would, I'd probably have gone more gung ho about jobs. So, it's a little bit of both, but. All in all,
you'd be more successful without ponies.
I might be successful. Yeah, you never know. I really don't. But I'm at the very least, I'm glad I did find the show, because if I hadn't, then this is also
in the Olympics if you hadn't.
And plus, that to kind of also go along, this has given this group in this podcast something else to talk about again, because we all met through something else that's been done for 5 years now. And, it's not to say that our conversations become stale, because we're all alike enough that we can talk about whatever and it's fine. But this gave us something that, we could watch or listen or whatever. In any case, all together, and
it brought new life to the group.
Exactly. Yeah. It gave us all something to watch and talk about and all that stuff. So that was nice. So I guess we'll just, we'll end that there. This whole discussion about ponies. Again, happy 2nd birthday, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And here's hoping you don't get canceled in the next year, because that.
Here's hoping you don't get cancer.
Oh, MLP.
Yes, that will be fun. So next up is an interview, and I already talked about it at the beginning of the episode, but I'll talk again. This is an interview I conducted this week with Darkly Cute and Starshine. They are the two head organizers of Trotcon. It's a My Little Pony convention that began last year, or this past year actually, 2012. This past July, in fact, and had a turnout of about 800 people. And They're gearing up for 2013. In fact, this past weekend, they had a meetup in Columbus, which I attended, that they basically announced Trotcon 2013 and announced some of the details, the time and the place, and what they've got going on so far. So this interview is basically talking to them about Trotcon 2013 and what they have in store and some other things, as in, how they feel about how many cons there are and like what they think their place is, and as well as some other things, maybe some things you haven't heard yet. And so check it out. This is Darkly Cute and Starshine from Trotcon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am here with the two of the Trotcon organizers, Darkly Cute and Starshine.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, hello, hello. These two just announced that there's going to be a Trotcon 2013, and I wanted you guys to really quickly just give a brief rundown of some of the details, at least some of the details that we already know, or that you already know about Trotcon 2013 that you can, give to people.
It'll be in 2013.
Anything else?
Nope.
like
all.
location, anything like that?
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Yeah, right. You hear it first, ladies and gentlemen. There will be a Trotcon, and it's going to be in 2013. And that's all we know.
Whole year.
Yes, all year.
That actually would be pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm sure we'd have enough content.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious, where it's going to be, what dates, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's going to be downtown Columbus at the Sheraton Capitol Square. Gorgeous place. It's going to be on June 14th through 16th. All day, all night, nonstop. We're insane. When we open up registration, it'll be $30. And if you want to sleep, you should probably get a hotel room. That'll be $99, which is a tremendous deal.
Yeah, for Sheraton, sounds like it.
Yeah, I don't think you can even get into the Red Roof for $99.
Dang.
It might be that same price, and you'd have to walk a block or two.
Right.
What else do we have to say?
Our guests that we have already. So far we have Pixel Kitties, John Joseko, and there was a third person that you talked to.
Well, we got our DJ Roxers is going to be
That's what it
coming
was.
back. And one of the people on our music panel, Xavier Said, I guess, from DJ Pone 3 Radio, is coming back to say hi again.
All right, and when are you guys opening registration for this?
With any luck, this weekend.
Perfect.
With no luck, next weekend.
And for those listening out here, the current date is October 10th, and this will be released on the 12th. So by the time you listen to this, it may already be a thing that you can buy, and that'd be awesome. So I wanted to ask, this is a different location from 2012's Trotcon. First of all, why did you guys decide to pick a new location for this?
Well, it was annoying having to go 2 miles from the Ohio Union to a hotel. So we wanted to find a place that was a hotel.
We also wanted to be able to have the convention open all night, whereas at the Union we could not do that unless you wanted to pay a lot of money to try to keep the building open.
So aside from those things, is there anything else that this location is going to, have compared to the last location that's going to, possibly add to the experience?
More space, if nothing else. We're renting out the entire building. It's 22-some thousand square feet of rooms, plus a whole bunch of open areas. Right next door to it is the Columbus Commons. There's always stuff going on in the summer there. It's a big open air area. It's a giant stage on it. Right next door is the Ohio Theater that will be playing the musical Wicked.
Ooh, fun.
It's across a bridge from COSI, which is really cool for any of the 10 people that went there this past weekend.
Oh, they'll have a Mythbusters thing at COSI next summer while TrotCon's going on.
Yeah, so if you like exploding things, you can go to COSI for a little while and check that out.
I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in that. And to get an idea here, how much square feet was the last location?
We had somewhere around 9,000 square feet rented out.
So you're over doubling this. Like it's all right, cool. And I'm curious, about Trotcon 2012. What would you guys say were some of the positives coming out? It's been a couple months now, and then along with that, what are some of like the negatives that you definitely want to fix come next June?
Well, I say positive was that we had a ton of people there. I mean, more than we were expecting and more than double of what our initial expectations were. So it's really nice to see that so many people were coming to check us out that weekend and see what we had. It went really well.
Yeah, I was very happy with how it went for it, like being a first year convention. So
far as I can tell, everything stayed on schedule and on track, aside from a couple of little changes that we had to make.
Yeah, there were, I think, 2 panels that had to be canceled due to either staff being needed elsewhere or I think that was just it. Staff being needed elsewhere, so they couldn't make it to the panel. So
okay.
For things that we need to improve, we actually made a list.
Oh boy. How long is this list so far?
It's actually not that long.
Well, that's good.
And this is coming from all of the feedback that we've gotten from people about the convention. So I'd say that says a few things about how well the con went. I mean, just looking from outside observers' perspectives on things. The number one thing is get a location that doesn't make people take the bus or drive 2 miles on High Street. So we've got that checked. We got to make a little better effort in getting all of the volunteer staff for the convention and meet up with them before it actually starts. Because I know a few people were coming in and we're like, didn't we tell you that we were supposed to be on staff? So a little more communication before the convention with the people that are supposedly working at the convention would be awesome and would eliminate some confusion. Getting more staff in general, I guess, would be a thing to strive for, because I feel like we're a little bit understaffed.
Yeah, just
we've made things work really well, worked our butts off, but
we would have been better if we had more gophers, but no one wanted to volunteer for gopher staff. Instead, they wanted to give us their money.
Yeah, which
confused by, but okay.
It was a little surprising that no one really, well, some people did, but not too many people were into the whole work for a couple hours for a free badge thing. So we're going to make a little more of an effort this year at finding people in advance. So one of the things that we're going to have up on the website as far as like registration for things is a staff application page. So if anyone wants to staff the convention, then they can let us know well in advance and we can work with them and get them put into a position that would be suitable.
Yeah, I want to make sure everyone can have a position on staff that would like play to their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Trotcon was hailed, I think, by a lot of people for being more of a community-focused con than what many others have seen to be. A lot of others out there have been more of like, focusing on the show staff, although they do obviously have some community aspects. But is this something you guys plan to reinforce this year, or is this something you possibly want to move away from? I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what the general idea is for 2013, if you already have decided in terms of it's going to be more community-based, or it's going to have a lot of show staff, or it's going to be a good mix of the two, perhaps.
Well, I still want a heavy focus on the community, but we're going to work to bring in possibly some more like show staff stuff. If
no promises yet.
No promises. We're trying. So
yeah, a few people have told us, and this was mostly before the convention happened, that if you don't have show staff, you don't have a convention. And we were like, okay. And then we vastly overshot our initial estimates. So I think we did have a convention without the show staff.
Okay.
I've always believed that the community is what it is because of itself, not just because of the show. People aren't looking at Equestria Daily and various other community sites and forums over and over again, multiple times a day, just to see what the show staff is up to.
Yeah, I mean, when I got into this fandom, it was about the community. And we didn't have any contact with any of the show staff at first. Like, that's a more recent development. So, a convention doesn't necessarily need to have it, but it's cool to have those types of things as well.
Now, was there ever any doubt, even before you saw the amount of people that ended up coming to the convention last year, was there ever any doubt that there would or would not be a Trotcon 2013, or was that always kind of an idea that you guys had that, like, we want to keep this going for, years down the road?
Hey, I wanted to keep it going. I don't know about anyone else on staff, but then again, I'm crazy and like running conventions, so.
I'm also crazy.
But I think you have to be crazy to run a convention. That's like a requirement.
Yeah. The really sane people go, wow, that's a lot of work with not much payoff. I think I'll not do that. And then the people that actually run it are the ones that say, yeah, let's do it anyway.
Okay.
We were talking about things to do for 2013 before the 2012 con happened.
Right. Okay. Now, when are some of the announcements going to flow for 2013? I mean, do you have anything in the bag right now that you haven't really thrown out there yet as like, oh, hey, we've got this happening, but you just haven't really, announced it, that you can say, of course, right now?
I don't know. We're going to have, like I said, we're going to have stuff all night long. I noticed that a lot of the other conventions that have been planned and have run and are going to be running stop a lot of things, if not the entire convention, at a certain point in the night. Like, they'll only have panels running until like 9 o'clock. We are planning on having that kind of stuff, at least one room for panel programming going on the whole con. We'll have a gaming room open for the whole time. We'll have videos playing the entire convention. We're planning on having music, like live music and DJing until the wee hours of the night. So people that are usually up at night will have no difficulty finding things to do.
So there's a lot of cons out there now, obviously. It's definitely grown from...
There's too many.
there are quite a few. But,
we're not helping.
Yeah, right. But where do you see Trotcon's place being in this whole grand scheme of things in terms of conventions?
That's a deep question.
Yeah.
Well, like we said, we've always tried to have a heavy focus on the community. Like the other conventions, some of them are very strongly focused on the show staff and the show itself, and not really paying too much attention to the people within the fandom.
Could have helped make the fandom what it is.
Yeah, so if a lot of other conventions around are going to keep going in that direction, then I guess we'll be that convention that pays attention to the things that people are interested in that the other cons aren't focusing so much on. That was a really roundabout way to say that.
Well, I got nothing else for you guys. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this at all that I possibly didn't hit on, or something else you want to say about Trotcon 2013?
I don't know. I think that's it.
Well, I know we can find you guys at www.trotcon.com, and you have forums, which is always fun, and you have the Twitter account /Trotcon or at Trotcon. Is there any other places? Oh, Facebook.
Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah, we got a facebook.com/trotcon.ohio.
Okay.
We got a Tumblr that we sometimes pay attention to. The YouTube accounts.
Google Plus.
Pretty much any social network thing we've got covered. We even have a Steam group that we have set up.
Fun.
I don't know. There aren't too many people in that group.
probably as many people as are using your Google Plus account. Since that was a thing. Okay. Well, as long as you got nothing else for me, I got nothing else for you. Once again, Trotcon is going to be June 14th through 16th, 2013 in Columbus, Ohio. So mark your calendars and come on out for some all-night, all-day shenanigans and all that stuff. Darkly and Starshine, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right, and once again, if you want to check out Trotcon, that's trotcon.com, or you can go to their Twitter account at Trotcon. They're also on Facebook. Once again, Trotcon, they're pretty much on all the social media, as was mentioned in the interview. And you should definitely show up. I'll probably be there. And chances are I'll possibly be on like a panel. Maybe we'll have like a live broadcast from Trotcon for Pony 411. I know it's easy for me to make it up there, so... At least as of right now, unless if I do end up moving here soon. But at the current moment, it would be very easy. Maybe we can get some of these lovely gentlemen up there as well. That'd be pretty cool.
Ooh.
So I guess we're going to delve into fan content now.
Yeah.
And as always, we have some prime choice selections from the art community, the fanfic community, and the music community of this show. And we'll start with the fanfic this week, because I don't think we've done that before.
Ooh.
We might have, I don't know. But Nemesis. So Nemesis,
Yes.
why don't you talk to us about the fanfic you got this week?
Yes. This week's fanfic I found is called Twy Hard 2, Twy Harder. And it's by Arcanum. And in case you haven't, and before you ask, no, it's not a sequel. It's a standalone thing. It's just a joke. If you haven't figured out what it is, shame on you. But it's just the entire fic is just an action movie parody with Twilight, starring Twilight Sparkle, which of course earns it extra points. And essentially, well, it just starts off with Twilight got a invitation from something called the Meeting of Minds, and of course she's nervous about it, and it's because she's, well, just a recognition of what she's done, and she's nervous about it and everything. And she gets there, everything seems to be going fine, and all of a sudden Trixie comes in with a changeling army and taking everyone hostage. And Twilight escapes and now has to save everyone.
Twilight style.
Exactly, and of course in an action hero movie style, and everything. It's just.
Did she crawl through vents and get cut up by glass?
I don't think it goes quite that far, but.
No.
Does she say yippee ki
No, but there's a cyborg dragon. Yes, yeah. Just I can't really get too far into it, but it's just, it's just action movie cliche after action movie cliche, and just gets more absurd as it goes on.
Does she have one-liners?
I hope so.
Kind of. A few.
Yes.
But, it's just like she finds something that just makes everything more and more absurd. And at one point, she can't teleport because an action hero would not teleport in that situation. They'd be doing something cool. Although teleporting is, in fact, cool itself, but that's not what they would do.
Yeah, Die Hard would have been different if he could teleport.
And if you liked that fanfic we did a couple weeks ago where it was Twilight Sparkle gets a free salad, you'll probably like this one because it's in the same sort of random comedy sort of thing. It's a one-shot, so it's not going to take you too long to read. And it was just featured on EQD, and it's kind of an older one, so a lot of you probably have already seen it, but for some reason it just got an update, and I think it's because of it was part of a fic trade or something. But yeah, so it just got updated or something. I think it's really minor, if anything was changed, but I'd still recommend checking it out if you skipped on it the first time, if you were just scared of the random tag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good story. I enjoyed it, and I loved the writing style. Very good writing style, very, tight, and the characters were very in character, which is always good. Characters in character.
Yes.
It's good to have characters in character.
Yo, dog, I heard you like characters.
No.
And a certain pony makes a appearance that I enjoy when she makes an appearance in stories, so that was pretty cool. And she wasn't painted to be like a total horrible pony, so that was cool. But yeah, very good story. I definitely recommend it to anyone who is looking for a quick read because it is a one-shot. And yeah, that's all I got.
Nice.
I'm guessing by your two reactions, you guys have not read it yet.
Nope.
Didn't think so.
Oh, I have an excuse. I fell asleep today.
That's not
I
an
was studying for
excuse.
I was studying for an exam.
That's a worse excuse. You're supposed to
Well,
disregard
what
education.
y'all out there listening should do is you should read that story and you should tell us what you think in the comments. And maybe we'll address some of them next week. And we'll have a real discussion then.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or maybe we'll just have a discussion in the comments. Or maybe we'll just ignore the comments. I don't know.
We'll just disable
Whatever.
comments and ratings.
There may not be comments, though, in whatever you're listening to right now, since not everybody's listening on YouTube. So, I don't know. Send us an email or something. Send us a tweet on the Twitter. Do it.
Tell us how you ponied responsibly today.
So I guess I'll move on to art, as in the thing, not the person.
Aw.
And
Yay.
Funky has our art for the week. Tell us, Grand Poobah, what do you have for us?
I have some things I actually prepared for this time, so I'm going to be able to articulate my thoughts on these more rather than me just going, well, this, that, and so.
So you like me? So you mean like me every week?
I guess.
Oh.
Slightly less irritating on the ears, but okay. As usual, I picked out 4 drawings or artworks or whatever you want to call them this week, and want to start off the first one I want to start off with is Defender by Zombivar. That's the name I'm gonna go with. Zombivar sounds kind of cooler.
Kill
John
zombie.
Maiden.
zombie murder kill, but and then in this picture we see Rarity with a very serious and stern look on her face, while Sweetie Belle is kind of cowering behind her hind leg for protection. And we see in this particular picture that kind of makes it stand out from a lot of pony artwork is that Rarity has a really nice, sweet, big gun. So
I totally thought you were going somewhere else with that.
no, why would you think that?
You would, you dirty,
But-
dirty person.
What I like about it is like it's a very nice contrast because we see these simply designed ponies, and it kind of stays true to the show style, but it has a little bit more things added to it by the artist, such as like the making the hoof a little bit more defined and like adding more details to the hair and little things like that. But like, for the most part, Sweetie Belle and Rarity look kind of simple, but then we see the gun that Rarity is holding, and it's from what I see, I'm assuming it's a light machine gun based on its size and the magazine and a few other things that are on it. But it is like a really well detailed gun, and guns are really hard to draw because of all the parts that go into them, all the moldings, the little specs and everything that goes into making them. So obviously this person knows a thing or two about guns, or he found a really good reference and managed to go from there. And all you can, again, like the little parts of it, like like the holographic side on top of it, the barrel, and again like the magazine and just everything just looks really great. And again, like the Rarity and Sweetie Belle themselves are done in this really nice style, and the coloring is this kind of really interesting cell shading style. And overall I just really enjoy it, just because I've seen a couple of drawings with ponies with guns, but I think this one's probably like the most effort put into it when it comes to how realistic they actually made the guns. So definitely we need more of this, exactly, ponies and guns, because why not? Even though they don't have fingers to use them, but they look badass holding them.
Pony Nukem.
And speaking of awesome action pictures with ponies, the next one is Zombie Halloween by Adelaide. And this is just in time because we're our second week into October, so it makes sense for us to have some Halloween-themed pictures in here. The picture depicts a rear shot of Twilight Sparkle, and as we see, she is surrounded by zombies, and her eyes are glowing white, as bright as her horn. So when Twilight's or any unicorn's horns and eyes are glowing, something is about to happen. And I don't know if it was intentional, but I really enjoy how the lighting from her horn, like the positioning of the light, and then her tail kind of makes you go around the picture, and that kind of helps you realize that she's surrounded by zombies. So intentional or not, like it really helps with the composition of the picture, and it makes it easier to look at. And again, like, there are small details in this that make it stand out. From the shading from Twilight's glow, and which we see like on her body, and like her mane and tail will also reflect this. But the zombies are pretty done well too, and they're kept pretty simple for the most part, and are drawn. And even though they're drawn pretty stereotypical with like the exposed rib cages and the bony legs, it works with I guess the style of the picture, and I guess overall like the style of the show. And one little detail I failed to notice right away when I first found this was in the background you can clearly see a zombie who isn't a normal pony but an alicorn, which kind of makes it just adds another thing into the whole picture that kind of makes you wonder, what's going on exactly, because throwing a zombie alicorn and things get a little interesting. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of people, if it was more popular, I'm pretty sure someone might even base a fanfic on it, and I welcome that idea, because I'm not sure how many fanfics there are with zombie ponies besides that. Well, not fanfic, but there's that game. I forget the blanks or something. But Nemesis knows what I'm talking about, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes.
Story of the Blanks.
Yes,
All right.
I do.
But anyway, yeah, if you're into zombies and ponies, then this is definitely worth looking at, and it would make a pretty nice wallpaper for your iPhone, I'm sure. But so the next one, and I'm just gonna take a break from the serious ponies for a moment and go with something a little nicer. And I think Art might like this because it has Fluttershy, and I know, and the title is Flutterpie by Mujanai or Muhanai. I'm gonna go. Thank you, but and if, with the name Flutterpie, I know that people are gonna start thinking that the title sounds like it's shipping, but I'm sure that's not the case.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
I was like, what did Funky find for us?
But no, it's just I don't know if it was like if the person knew if Flutterpie was a common shipping term between Fluttershy and Pinky, but regardless, it's not the case, and instead we have an image, a very nice one. It's very serene, and we see like the Fluttershy just kind of gracefully looking like she's gracefully landing on top of a few flowers, and I don't know, there isn't much to really say about it because there's not much going on, but I guess that's why I like it, because it's just really simple. The colors are really nice, and the artist did a fine job with the pastel colors they chose to use in it. And the style is also pretty easy on the on the eyes, on the Fluttershies. But Fluttershy is kind of drawn a bit more like a deer rather than a horse, but I think it kind of fits with her character, because deer are usually kind of, depicted as innocent creatures, and I think that kind of fit Fluttershy if she wasn't a horse. But there are lots of like little details in this, just like her eyelashes and the tufts of fur that kind of pop out along her body that don't go too far, so it finds the right balance of not making her look too fluffy, or it's just enough to just kind of depict that that this is an animal with a very light coat of fur on it. And one nice little touch is that she has a hairband located on the base of her tail, and that kind of eventually ends up giving her a no pun intended ponytail that kind of like Applejack has, but instead of that, it's like instead of Applejack's like on the end, Fluttershy's is towards the, I guess again, like I said, the base of the tail. So it's a very nice image, and I can easily see something like this being made into a poster. And I would definitely, if that was the case, I definitely would get it and put it on there, because it's just a really nice and relaxing thing to look at. And from that note, from the awesome to the nice. I'm just gonna end this on a sad note, because that's the kind of jerk I am. Yeah. And that's Dreams of a Foal by I Need a Hug, written in Leet, and if I were to pronounce that correctly, it would be 1N33D for hug. That rolls off the tongue pretty nicely, but the setting of this particular picture takes place during, I'm assuming during the episode of Sisters Who've Social, and we see a darkened alley in the foreground with Scootaloo sleeping on the ground with a satin look on her face, and only relying on newspapers to be her mattress and her blanket. There are garbage bags surrounding her, and her trademark scooter and helmet are nearby, along with some half-eaten food and a drink, clearly indicating that she's either been here for a while or this is where she actually lives. And in the background, far off, we can see Applejack and Applebloom kind of happily trotting along, conversing with each other. And just in case if that wasn't depressing enough for you guys, along the walls of the alley, you can see a few posters for the Sisterhood Social that we see being handed out, and we see a couple of times during the episode. And one of which is colored to make it look like the taller pony's Rainbow Dash and the smaller Scootaloo. And at first I didn't realize it, I didn't realize why it was colored in until I realized there was a box of crayons next to Scootaloo. And you can pretty much insinuate from there that she was the one that did that and hung it up. So there's lots of really well done fine points to make a story that kind of backs up or the idea that people there's a lot of people I see who have headcanons about Scootaloo being homeless because we never see her family and we never see where she lives, especially since she can't fly. So there's always that kind of thing that's brought up every now and then. So something certainly very different from the happier cool fan art that we see in the pony fandom. So if that's your thing, then get ready to shed an emotional tear for this particular piece.
A single tear will be shed.
Just one. And that's about all I have for this week.
Bravo.
Yes.
My favorite is predictably the Twilight one.
Dreams of the Fool, of a Fool. Dreams of a Fool is definitely my favorite. It's just, I mean, even though it's sad.
Oh.
I dig it, yo. Dig that stuff. And Zombie Halloween's pretty cool, too. Just well drawn. You know.
Yes.
And zombies are cool, yo.
This would be a great... Speaking of zombies, you can check out Karma Kill's latest hit. No, just kidding.
No.
No, we can't because that's not on the internet.
Wow.
I'm going to make that my mission to dig that back up.
Please do. I want to hear it again. It's been a while.
I know.
Okay, well, if no one else says anything about the art, we'll move on to music for this week. And then we'll get out of here because we've been here long enough.
Yes.
So the 3 pieces of music I have this week. The first one is a song. It's a song.
Yes.
But not just
a song by an artist.
It's a song by an artist. Yeah. This is a song by So Great and Powerful, who's pretty well known in the fandom at this point. And the song is entitled E36, parentheses, Sofas and Quills. And the reason I picked the song is because it reminded me of a lot of like the indie rock I listened to a lot. It definitely had kind of like a couple aspects of that. It was definitely Phoenix-ish. If you ever listened to Phoenix as a French band, vocally very similar to that, and also kind of had some chillwave aspects to it too. In the long run, very dreamy and just a very altogether interesting song, and a song that I, of a certain quality that I would expect to hear from, a general indie band. Not necessarily an indie band that's signed, mind you, but, a band that I might hear, on a certain level at like a certain show or at a festival or whatever. And yeah, I really dug that one. So I had to throw that in there mainly because it's kind of part of my roots, and also because I hadn't heard a song really like that yet that we had played. And we certainly hadn't anything by So Great and Powerful yet. So that was the first song. The second song of the week is an orchestral, kind of more of an orchestral instrumental, which if you listen to this podcast, you know that we do those often. This one in particular this week is called A Day of Crusading, and it's by Orchestral Design. This is an artist I had never listened to before, and what I loved about this song was that it feels real within the context of the show. You know, this isn't a song, you know, a lot of times when we hear an orchestral or a instrumental or whatever, generally orchestrals, within this fandom, it's very epic a lot of times. People tend to go for, shoot for the stars here. This, on the other hand, is kind of minimal. And it's just more of like a piece. It's kind of, I'm not sure how to describe it. There's a word here, but I haven't been able to figure out what it is yet. But it's very much rooted in the setting. And it's basically rooted in, you know, the Cutie Mark Crusaders, you know, going off and doing their, you know, adventures as they do. And you can kind of imagine it, you know, as like a backing to that. And it's just a very interesting song in that regard. You know, it's not the type of song that you necessarily keep coming back to listen to, but it's the type of song that I listen to and I think this is really well put together, and I like it because it is so just, I think, in line with what I might one day hear on the show. So that's song number 2. Song number 3 is called Life with a Discordant Personality, and it's by Dropkick Production TX. I threw this song in there mainly for Artfan, and also because I think it's a very well put together song. It's more of a rock tune, maybe even more on the progressive metal side.
I was going to say it's definitely metal.
In fact, that's what they say in the title of it. And the song is, we don't hear too much metal on the show, so I had to throw it in there. In fact, I think we might have had one song ever that was kind of in that vein. I think it was the first episode. And it's a very well done song, and what I also like about it is that it very much captures the personality of Discord, who obviously the song's about. So it's very erratic, it's very loud, it's not very rooted in a certain signature. It definitely jumps around. It keeps you guessing. It's not just like a straightforward, it's a rock tune, and it's just kind of, playing itself out. It has like this part, chorus, whatever. This is an instrumental. I should actually note that, because it's metal, but it's not metal in the sense of like, there's a vocalist up there either doing crazy power vocals or is screaming or growling, whatever. It's instrumental, exactly. But it definitely gets across the personality of Discord, and I really like that. And so that is the music I have for this week, and I hope all you out there enjoyed it as much as I did.
Hated every single one.
Did you like it, Art? What did you like?
I liked the metal song because I'm a metalhead and metal's cool. No, well,
did you think it was a well put together song?
I did. I thought the arrangements were very well put together. It doesn't overstay its welcome, which is something I really try to look for in rock instrumentals, where they left me wanting to hear more, which I like. It didn't bore me. Some bands have a problem with making their songs way too long, even their instrumentals. So
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, very well put together. The guitar work was awesome. Major props to the guitarist. And yeah, it was just an overall very, very great little rock tune. Definitely something that I could see myself putting on a CD and listening to in the car, or having as background music, stuff like that.
Wasn't too keen on the first one, honestly. I don't know, I guess the first half in particular, I just wasn't really into it, and it started to pick up towards the end, but it was like too little too late, and I wasn't really into it. To be honest, it just wasn't my thing. It's just, I don't know, I can't really describe that one.
You're totally understandable.
E36?
Yeah, that one. I don't know. I can't really describe. I don't think I can really, without like listening to it again, I can't really place what exactly I don't like about it. But the second one I was actually kind of into. It's very happy and bouncy, and I guess, and it's different from most orchestral pieces, but I do like it. It does feel kind of like what Four String said, where it's like, it does feel like it could be just put into a background like music for like the Cutie Mark Crusaders in an episode, and it fit perfectly. Almost. It's just,
yeah, exactly.
Very nice little, you can't help but have a little bit of a smile if you're listening to it for a bit. And the third one, I actually what I did like that one as well. I was kind of surprised when I heard it. I was like, I was almost, although the whole time I was almost waiting. At first I was like, oh geez, is there going to be some really growly lyrics or something? I mean, no, it's instrumental. Okay. But yeah, at one point I was like, I'm just worried. I was just worried
please.
There's going to be some sort of bad vocal or something. But no.
Yeah, no, didn't get that.
Really good though.
Yes, good week indeed. So that may be it for the week. Can anybody think of anything else that they would like to add before we head on out of here and we do the usual, hey, find us on these websites?
Apparently, FiM is heading to EQLA.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
Breaking
Was that
news.
just announced?
Yeah. Equestria LA announced FiM for
Breaking
November
news.
3rd, the only day.
Very interesting. Well, that gives people going to that convention just more incentive.
Meet the maker.
Pretty awesome. But I suppose that brings us to the end of our podcast for the week. Pretty long one this week, but if you've been able to stick with us the entire time, we commend you. You're awesome.
Yay.
So thank you as always for listening, and if you want to connect with us outside of this podcast, check us out on a couple of mediums, the main one being Twitter. That's twitter.com/pony411. pony411.libsyn.com, LIBSYN, is where you can direct download the MP3 files of our podcast. You can also download us on iTunes. That's, again, Pony411. We're also on Twitter ourselves. You can check out the podcast description for our names. Some of us tweet a lot. Some of us tweet very little.
Some of us don't
but
tweet
it's
at
always
all.
a good time. Some of them don't tweet at all. We always put Art's name in there, but he doesn't really ever tweet. One of these days, though, bro.
Yep.
One of these
One of
days.
these days.
And if you have any questions, comments, cause for discussion, or maybe even some news tips or ideas, or feedback in general, check us out on Twitter or email us, pony411podcast@gmail.com. And next week, I think we might be talking a little more about conventions. We're not sure yet.
Yes.
But stay tuned. It'll be episode 9, which is in no way a milestone, but it's one from a milestone. We're almost to episode 10, which means we've been doing this for too long.
10 episodes.
But at
too
least
many.
we're not like... But I mean, I think Bronyville had like their 76th today.
Good
Or
God.
something like that. So, I mean, at least we're not. Although we hope one day we will be at that point, and we'll see what happens. Maybe October 10th, 2013, we'll be back here again.
I can see it now. Pony 411 featuring special guest Tara Strong and Tori Spelling.
Tori Spelling. Tori Spelling is my wife, and she is not Drek. Like this podcast. Pony 411 is not Drek. You subhuman. No, I shouldn't.
No,
say
you
that.
shouldn't.
Piece of filth.
But yeah, so guess that's it.
All right.
This is all we got for this week. So thank you for listening once again, and again, check us out on all those things. Give us some feedback, even if it's bad. We still want to hear it because we need to get better. Number one, and part B, we just want to hear from you. And we're gonna be shuffled out of here with more of the theme song to our podcast that was written by James Hetfield.
Yeah.
Blessed be he. And
I am the pony.
all right.
I am the...
I guess that's it. So thank you for listening once
Bye,
again.
everyone.
And as always, please pony responsibly. And
Good night, everybody.
Good night. And have a pleasant tomorrow. How many more things can we fit into here? We'll just stop it there. Good night, everyone.